Hello, everyone. Today I'm here with Elizabeth McNeese. She's the co chair of the Ohio National Parents Organization chapter, and she's here to tell us some exciting things that are happening in Ohio. So, welcome, Elizabeth. How are you?
Thanks. I'm happy to be here. It's a very exciting time in Ohio, so I'm glad to talk about it.
So, yeah, lots going on in Ohio. You guys have a big push for some legislation that's coming out. Tell us what's going on out there in your state.
Yeah, sure. So our NPO Ohio team has been working very diligently for the past 7, 8-ish months to help author a bill for Ohio that would establish equal shared parenting in Ohio. The legislators finally approved the bill a week and a half ago, and they sent out requests for additional co-sponsors. The bill hasn't been filed yet with the clerk, so there's not a bill number. So right now they're just asking for co-sponsors, and the cutoff for that is December 6th, at which point they will file it with the clerk. It will get a bill number, and it'll start working its way through the legislature. Legislature.
Well, yeah. So with any state, it's really a long process to go
Yeah.
from an idea for some legislation to actually getting it passed. So, what's that look like in Ohio?
Well, in Ohio, we got really lucky because it's a bipartisan effort, and the two representatives who have taken an interest in this cause and have decided to go ahead and sponsor this bill. One is a Democrat. His name is Thomas West. He's from the northern Canton, Ohio area. And then we have a Republican, Rodney Creech, who is from the western side of Ohio. And they both have seen firsthand the impact that family courts have on families. They're both very passionate about keeping children in contact with both parents. Like I said, they've seen it firsthand. So that was very helpful when we were approaching them because it wasn't a tough sell. They saw the need. So they were very keen to get on board and do something in Ohio. There's been several attempts in the past for legislation like this. To date, we've not been very successful. So we're really excited this time. We think that this bill is very strong. It establishes equal presumptions for both parenting time and decision-making responsibilities. And those presumptions are rebuttable. So there are factors that the court must consider when determining whether those presumptions have been rebutted. And unless they've been rebutted with clear and convincing evidence, which is very strong, we're happy that that's in there. Unless there's clear and convincing evidence that that arrangement would be detrimental to the children, the court must award equal parenting time and equal parental rights and responsibilities.
So now, is this for just temporary orders, or would this be for permanent orders? And how would it affect orders that are already standing?
Yeah. So initially, when we met with them, we were going to just push for temporary orders because, if you've been through this, you know that the temporary orders period really just kind of sets the status quo for long term what's going to happen with the child and where they're going to live. And temporary orders are issued without a hearing typically. And in Ohio, the court, unless both parents are coming in full agreement and make a really good case, for an equal shared parenting plan, the court will step in and determine a custodial parent temporarily and a non-custodial parent. But again, if you've been through it, you know that sometimes that process can take many months, possibly even years before that divorce is finalized. And so the temporary period actually is a very, very long period and sets that status quo. So by the time final orders come, they're not likely to change the arrangement that the child has been living with all that time. So that was really what we were focusing on in the beginning. The legislators then decided, you know what? Why don't we just do it for final orders too? So that was so as we've gone along all of these months going back and forth with the drafting, we've expanded it to cover more and more. So it covers temporary orders, it covers final orders. It also applies now to never married parents, which was a key thing that a lot of people were asking for. The idea is just because you were never married doesn't mean that you aren't a good parent or you're not a fit parent or you shouldn't continue to have contacts with your child. So the bill does cover never married parents as long as that relationship with the child is already established. So, one of the factors to consider is whether there is an established relationship. So we're not putting children in the hands of, abusers. We're not putting children in the hands of strangers. So we were really careful to make sure that we're always protecting the children first. But part of protecting children is ensuring that that relationship continues with both parents.
That's fantastic. So once the bill gets a number here in the beginning of December, what's the rest of the path look like? Is it does it have to go through hearings, or what committees
Yeah.
is it going to be in?
Yeah. So once it's been filed and it has a bill number, it will get in the queue for scheduling. Well, actually, first it'll go in the queue to be assigned to a committee. Once we know which committee it's assigned to, then we will focus our efforts here in Ohio towards those committee members and reaching out to them and trying to get them to support the bill. We're hopeful. We have a lot of our list of co-sponsors is growing, and we're getting a lot of representatives from different committees. So we're really hopeful that whatever committee gets it, hopefully we'll have at least one or two co-sponsors as part of that committee. So once it's assigned to committee, then hopefully it will be scheduled for hearing in front of the committee. They'll hear testimony for people who support it, people who oppose it, and then they will make a decision from there. Hopefully it will get passed and voted out of committee, out to the floor, and then voted on, hopefully scheduled to have a vote and voted on, and then it'll go over to the Senate side where we start all over.
So yeah, it certainly is a long process.
Yeah.
Like I said, to go from idea to legislation that's actually signed into law. But it sounds like you've got some pretty good steam behind this one, and there's a lot of people that really want it.
Yeah, I think so. And it's I think good to note that there are female representatives who are also co-signing, or I'm sorry, co-sponsoring. So, we have men, we have women, we have Democrats, we have Republicans. So everyone is seeing this need and coming together, which is really exciting, especially in the political climate that we're all in right now. It's good to see a bipartisan effort towards something. The list of co-sponsors is growing, so people are really listening. Constituents are reaching out, which is exciting. We've created a web page for the bill for people to go and kind of read about it. They can see which representatives are supporting it. They can fill in a little widget that will automatically push a message to their representative so that they can have the power to actually reach out and say, hey, please support this. I support this. This is why it's important to me, and I want you to support this as well. So it's really a grassroots effort, but so far it's paying off. So fingers crossed it just keeps going down this path.
Well, yeah, I really hope it does for you. And in Ohio, what's the history been? I know you've tried several people have tried for several years to get the law changed. It doesn't seem like there's been too much movement, but what's changed now, or what's is it just you have the right representatives, or
I think that's a big part of it. Having representatives who have actually seen and experienced or witnessed the way the current system is, I think it's a big driver. So it's not just them hearing an issue and deciding, yeah, this is an important issue. It's personal for them, and they want to see change, and they want to help families, and they're very, very motivated to do it. Now, it's been very helpful that NPO did poll Ohioans a couple of years ago. So we know that Ohioans overwhelmingly support equal shared parenting, and that's across all demographics. So that's men, that is also women, that's, all political parties, age, race, everyone supports it. And overwhelmingly, we're not just talking like a small margin, overwhelmingly supports it. So when we went to these representatives, we came with research and data. And of course, NPO does a really good job of collecting all of the research that's been done and is being done all over the world on this issue of equal shared parenting and parental alienation and child well-being and all of those things. We've already collected it. So it was a matter of taking it to them and making the case that it's not just a nice to have, it's actually best for kids. And here's why. And it was just presented, I think, in a way that kind of made their job easy.
Well, that's great. And has the law in Kentucky has been in effect now for a little while. Has that been a point of conversation with your legislators? Have they asked about it? And have you, what's been the feedback from that?
Oh, yeah. So of course, Kentucky's just right across the river from Ohio, so they're a neighbor, which is helpful. there's actually a lot of Ohioans who go back and forth over the river to Kentucky, and same way coming over to Cincinnati. So, Kentucky's really close to Ohio, and to see Kentucky have success was very exciting for the representatives, for sure. The time we started sitting down seriously talking to them about this issue, though, Arkansas was in the process of passing theirs, and so the conversation shifted from here's what Kentucky did, and they've also had success. They have seen a decrease in those cases of domestic violence and child abuse, which is really good. So Kentucky's done it and they're having success. But now here's another one. Here's Arkansas, who is now on the map, who is just, and it was super fresh when we started meeting with the representatives. They're doing it and then they've done it. And how can we emulate that? How can we take their success and learn from it and apply it to Ohio? So actually our draft was directly inspired by both Kentucky and Arkansas's bill.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think as more states pass this, it's certainly going to put pressure on the surrounding states to make sure that they offer their citizens the same benefits that the other states are having. Yeah. I think that's a really, really important thing. Tell us a little bit about the organization out there in Ohio, the folks that you have helping you with this. Are there any other groups besides NPO folks, and what got you started in shared parenting?
Yeah, sure. So our team in Ohio is actually very small. There's about a half dozen of us who are really leading the charge. So we do have a legislative team within NPO Ohio. And so when we were drafting the legislation, it was really a team effort. Shout out to Anthony Slosser. He's one of our guys. I think he's in analytics as his day job. And so his attention to detail really helped get this done. There was a lot to consider in Ohio. It was quite a task, attacking the Ohio Revised Code the way it currently is written. The bill ended up being 185 pages, which is a pretty lengthy bill, but most of it is really where we went, and I shouldn't say LSC had to go in and kind of reorganize the whole section because of the changes that we were requesting. So our changes are under 40 pages, but the overall whole bill is 185 pages. So to do that, you really need a team and you need a lot of eyes. There's a lot of meetings, a lot of phone calls, a lot of late nights, a lot of weekend meetings, a lot of meeting real quick while one of us is on vacation, like taking time out of vacation to get this done, because time is of the essence, of course, because with legislators, you kind of have to strike while the iron's hot, because their time in office is limited. So you have to try and get as much as you possibly, can get done while they're there. So there was that urgency, that sense of urgency, but we couldn't have done it without our team, for sure. We do have a lot more people that are coming forward and wanting to help. And so for the next few months, as we're pushing this bill through, we want as many people to come forward and be willing to meet with legislators, contact legislators, call them. Phone calls really go a long way. When you actually talk to a human on the other side, they're much more receptive to hear what you have to say. Even an email is great. There's lots of things people can do to get it in front of their legislators to help push it forward. And I think that's really going to be our focus in the next few months. Now, I got involved in NPO actually. So my husband and I own a film company, and we are in the process right now of working on a documentary about family courts. And we were traveling and interviewing a lot of people for the documentary. And Don Huben was one of the people on our list. So we sat down with Don Huben and, interviewed him. And he was like, we really could use your help in Ohio. I mean, we lived in Ohio. He lives in Ohio. And he's taken on a greater role within the organization nationwide. So he was really needing someone to take the helm here in Ohio. So I was like, okay. So that's how I got involved in NPO. And the rest is history. Everything has moved very quickly. It's almost coincidence that everything has worked out so nicely. When we connected with the representative Creech, the first one, it was really through someone who reached out to NPO to volunteer. She's now on our legislative team. She's like, I have a podcast and I don't know, if you're interested, but I interviewed this representative on my podcast and he's really interested in this type of legislation. You should reach out to him. I don't know if you're working with him, but if you're not, reach out to him. And so, the rest is history from there. We absolutely contacted him. He was happy to meet with us. We took all of our research. We took everything we had and he was on board and everything just kind of happened from there.
Well, that's pretty awesome. And I think people really underestimate, just to go back to talking about, calling, I think people really underestimate the power of those phone calls. And even if you don't talk to the actual legislator and you just talk to an admin or something, they'll ask, if people are calling about something, they'll say, oh yeah, we've had 16 positive calls or something. And that really is a big factor. So I think, if you can, certainly reach out by email, but I would also follow up with a phone call if you can, because those are so powerful.
Oh, for sure. The legislative aides have been amazing. They are very, very attentive. They're way more involved than I ever realized. So they're definitely a key asset. So when you're calling, you're likely to talk to one of the aides and do that. They are basically the representative for the representative. So if you call and you make a good impression and you just talk from your heart, they do a pretty good job of listening.
Well, that's awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about your documentary? Is it coming out soon, and where can you watch it?
Well, we don't know exactly where it's going to be in the end. It's a family court documentary, and there's been some really good documentaries to date that are out there circulating now that are really good. One thing that we're really focusing on is not just the problem of family courts. So we will set up and establish that is a problem, and we'll hear from real people with real stories that have gone through it to really understand what the problem is. But really the focus is all of the people and organizations that are actually doing something about it. So the hope is to leave people inspired and to realize, this train is moving. So kind of get on board. So we don't know when it'll be out. I had to kind of put it on the side. I'm executive producer for it. So with the bill stuff, I've kind of had to set it aside for a little while so I could focus on the bill. But now that part's done, we'll pick it back up and hopefully soon.
Well, we certainly hope you don't put it down for too long, because it's really important information that needs to get out there. So we wish you the best in that. And tell us again, how can folks reach you for Ohio NPO, and where can they read the bill and find out more information about it?
Yeah. So the bill has not been released in its entirety to the public yet because the co-sponsor request is still pending. When that expires on December 6th and it is filed and it has a bill number, the bill will be public. In the meantime, though, if you go to sharedparenting.org, which is our NPO website, you can connect with Ohio by looking up and obviously not just Ohio, but any state. You just look up your local or your state chapter. There's like a little button at the top where you can locate your state chapter and you can reach out directly through the website. And then that information goes over to the chapter leads to connect you directly with them. So that is a very quick and easy way to get involved very quickly. And then there's also an op-ed that I wrote on there on the website that also explains what's in the bill. So I kind of summarize everything that's in it and what it means and how it will be implemented. One thing I would like to add about the bill that we are really excited about is there are some small changes to the code that we've put in the bill that impact families. So a big concern that families have is parental alienation, and how do you legislate that? Like, how do you rein that in? How do you protect families from parental alienation and false allegations? We do not have a very explicit clause in there that calls out parental alienation or false allegation, but we do have something called family or friendly parent factors. And they're factors the court must consider, in the event they determine, there's clear and convincing evidence that this situation, that the equal presumptions are detrimental to the child. And the court must put their findings in writing, that's another key thing, which is exciting. So they've made that determination and they have to now make a decision. Okay, so someone's going to have to be the custodial parent. But when they're taking that into consideration and making that determination, they have to consider certain factors and their friendly parent factors. So which parent is most likely to cooperate and co-parent and encourage that relationship between the child and the other parent, and who is going to encourage contact and really foster that relationship. The court has to consider which parent is likely to do that and which parent has a demonstrated ability. So it's not even just a shot in the dark, oh, I think this parent might be better at it. There needs to be a demonstrated ability to do that. They have to take into consideration whether a parent has intentionally interfered or withheld parenting time. So that's a key factor. So hopefully that will encourage parents to get along and to not withhold parenting time. And current Ohio code says the courts can award makeup time if a parent is found in contempt of court for interfering or withholding parenting time. The court may award makeup time. That almost never happens. Well, I don't even think, and I've talked to a lot of families, I've never met someone that actually got awarded makeup time. So we are actually changing that in the bill, that the court must award makeup time. And so hopefully that will also discourage parents from withholding time, knowing the court's not going to do anything. Well, now the court has to. The court, you can withhold that time, but if you're found in contempt for withholding time, that other parent is going to get that time back. And so hopefully that will help encourage, some of the parents out there who are being alienated, who are not allowed to see their children. The courts are doing nothing. There's, motions for contempt and nothing happens with those. So, that's another positive thing that we're really hoping makes an impact.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on. And if you're in Ohio, please join the Facebook page for Ohio. Just go search for National Parents Organization Ohio and reach out to the team there so you can help out. And even if you don't have a lot of time to volunteer, certainly call your legislators in Ohio and let them know that you support this bill, and let them know some about your personal experience. But Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on, and we really appreciate having you. As more information comes out in Ohio, we will definitely share it on the social media channels, and we wish you the best of luck out there.
Thanks for having me.